What's up guys, and welcome back to Rising Thrills. And in today's video we're talking about how Dollywood is acquiring Kennywood. Yes, that's right, you heard me right. This is technically old news by now. This has been out for like a month or so, but I still wanted to talk about it because this is definitely something that is very important and I have a lot of opinions on it, and it could really impact the future of the amusement industry a lot. So let's get right into it. So what is actually going on is Herschend Entertainment, which owns Dollywood, which owns Silver Dollar City, Kentucky Kingdom. In recent years, they definitely have been acquiring a lot of parks. Kentucky Kingdom. Of course, the Herschend Entertainment Group, I believe, originally started with Silver Dollar City. The family started that. Well, they didn't start it, but they took over there. And then after a while, they helped Dolly Parton start Dollywood. And now recently, they acquired Kentucky Kingdom, which at one point was a Six Flags park, and then it was an independent park, but now it's a part of Herschend Entertainment. But Herschend is acquiring Palace and Parque Renos, which Palace is the American subsidiary or North American subsidiary of Parque Renos, which is in Europe. They own a bunch of parks over in Europe, and I really think this is huge in the amusement industry because we had Six Flags and Cedar Fair merge. Basically that was just yesterday, you could say that. And now these parks are merging, Palace and Herschend. I believe Herschend will be, basically buying it. I don't know if it's a complete buyout. It's probably more of a merge, but not a merger of equals like Six Flags and Cedar Fair. It's going to be a merge, but definitely not of equals, from what I know. And of course, Palace Entertainment, they own parks like Kennywood, like compounds, just a half hour away from me, Dutch Wonderland, and Adventureland in Iowa. So they own a bunch of parks, and it also is Parque Renos, which owns more parks. So this is definitely consolidating the theme park industry. So we only really have like 3 chains now. Herschend, Six Flags, and United Parks and Resorts, which is SeaWorld and the Busch Parks. So this is definitely a major thing in the amusement industry. This is definitely turning tides in the amusement industry, and this is insane. Herschend definitely has some interesting parks. Silver Dollar City is an interesting park. Of course, Dollywood, it's partly owned by Herschend and partly owned by Dolly Parton, so it's not a complete ownership, but Herschend operates it, and it's just partly owned by Dolly Parton. But overall, this is a huge investment, you could say. And it's definitely something that I think is pretty wild, because I thought that, Palace and Parque Renos was doing pretty well, and that, they were pretty strong in the amusement industry. They had a pretty strong foothold. And this is showing that maybe that's not true. Herschend might have a bigger foothold in the amusement industry, and they might, be one of the biggest chains in the amusement industry. And, I think that's good to see. It's good for people that want to go to all these parks, and they can just get, eventually, hopefully, then they can just get one pass. But for the average, person that's just going to be going to one park, it doesn't really make a difference. There may be some advantages. The cost wouldn't be as high, maybe, because you're consolidating some of the stuff. Or it might just stay the same. I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to work out. This, I guess you could call merger or buyout or sell out. I don't know how it's going to turn out. That's definitely something we'll see down the line. And I just feel like in recent years, the past few years, it's the entire world, really, of so many companies merging, so many companies becoming one, big monopoly, you could say, whether you think it is a monopoly or not, but a big, entity. And that's just been the trend in the past few years. So many different businesses, companies, not even just in the theme park industry, in many different industries, whether that be food industries, whether that be tools, whether that be, appliances or drinks or whatever it is. So many companies are merging and consolidating, And, you know, whether it be good or bad, you know, yeah, it's not good because then there's less competition and they're basically, you know, just one company now. But on the other hand, sometimes it is good because then that can end up lowering costs because it is a bigger company and they can produce more and the prices will go down. Theoretically, that is. And overall, it's just something to think about, and I think about it a lot because it's definitely something that is really sculpting the future of the whole world, basically. It's making a huge difference, and this example is definitely a big example, because if you would have asked me this a year ago, before the Six Flags merger or anything, I'd be like, if you told me that, oh, Six Flags and Cedar Fair are merging, and then you said, oh, and also, Palace and Herschend and Parque Renos are, you know, buying each other out, basically, I'd be like, no, that's a funny joke. I'd be laughing for a while about that, but, you know, it's definitely interesting to see what's happening, and I hope it's for the good, you know, and, you know, definitely parks like Kennywood, they definitely need, in my opinion, changes. Of course, Kennywood originally, you know, not that long ago was an independent park, but then Palace came in and bought them out. And, you know, a lot of people loved Kennywood when it was an independent park. And then people were saying, oh, Herschend bought them out. Now they're part of a chain. It might be good. But then, you know, they have had a lot of things that were fails. Like, you know, they changed the one dark ride. They rethemed it, and that really didn't work, so then they had to theme it back to the original theme. And of course, with Steel Curtain, that was an epic fail. It's been closed 3 times the amount of times it's been open, basically, at this point. It's people say it's always closed when they go there, and it's just, I'm hoping with this merger that the management, especially at parks like Kennywood, will change, and, you know, there'll be a bright side to this, and that it'd be for the better, because I do think Herschend does a pretty good job with their parks, you know, adding coasters and stuff. Now, you could say about Kentucky Kingdom, you know, it was better before Herschend bought it, and yeah, I do agree with that. You know, they haven't really added much, but I'm hoping they will to that park, and of course, now that they're going to own Kennywood, hopefully they'll do that with Kennywood too. But there are other parks, Silver Dollar City and Dollywood, people say are great parks. You know, they have a lot of coasters. They keep on getting investments, big investments. So I'm hoping to see across this new chain, whatever they want to call this chain, I'm hoping to see better investments. You know, they really think out what they're going to do. And I hope this is for the good of the amusement industry. So hopefully it will be, and overall, it should be good. But, you know, we'll have to see, you know, if the Six Flags Cedar Fair merger, there's been a lot of stuff recently, especially that's, I don't know, I didn't really expect that, and I don't really think it's good. But hopefully this is for the best. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.